Hey guys! So, I've been posting about void moons in my Insta Stories, which I think is really helpful. And if you know what a void moon is, it's super helpful. But if you don't know what a void moon is, you know, you don't quite even know why I'm posting about it. So, I'm creating this video to help you learn about the fabulousness of void moons. I think if you're only going to learn a couple of things from astrology, it is, of course, what your sun sign is, what your ascendant is, what your moon is, and then how to use void moons. Even if you have a good grasp of those four things, it can make a world of difference with how you spend your time and how you get ahead. So, what is a void moon? And we're going to look at some charts. A void moon is the time between when the moon makes its last aspect in a sign and then that time it spends before it goes into the next sign. And we're going to look at this in a chart. And then we're also going to talk about what are good things to do during void moons, what are not good things to do during void moons, and how you might feel. And it might explain some frustrations you've been having during your week. And here we'll have the solutions to fix them. So this is the start of the void moon tomorrow. So you can see here we have the moon at 22 degrees Virgo, and it is exactly trine. That's that blue line right there. We call that a trine with Pluto. Pluto is also at 22 degrees and 39 seconds. They are exactly trine one another because they are at the exact same number. What you'll notice is that there's no number that is higher currently in this chart. So when the moon begins to move forward in time and forward in the chart, when it gets to 23 degrees, 24 degrees, 25 degrees, it won't be attached to any of the planets with any of the aspects. So there'll be no trine, no opposition, no square that is connecting the moon to any planets in the chart until it moves into Libra. And so that period when the moon is floating by itself until it goes into Libra, it is considered a void moon. And so then this is later in the day, tomorrow on June 10th, 2019. This is a very long void moon. It's going from 5 in the morning until basically 5:30 at night. And so, of course, as the ascendant changes throughout the day, the position of the moon changes. But what hasn't changed is that it has moved out of Virgo and then into Libra. And when it hits this exact 0 degrees and 0 seconds, the moon is no longer void. And if you are sensitive to energies, you may feel a shift in the energy that goes toward a more Libra theme versus the Virgo theme prior. So let's actually first, so we'll talk about the do's and don'ts of void moons, but let's also talk about how you may feel during a void moon. You may feel like you can't get any traction on anything. You may feel like taking a nap. You might have, let's say you're like in customer service and you've been helping people, and all of a sudden you have, it's like suddenly your cup is empty and you just have no energy to help anyone else. This is the time when you're in a bar. If let's say it's a void moon at night and you're in a bar and everyone's talking and chatting and drinking, and then all of a sudden there's that lull in conversation, like everything gets really quiet except for that one person who like is still talking really loud because they're finishing their story. That is the energy of a void moon, kind of this like heightened energy because the moon is making a final aspect with a planet in the chart, and then a drop in the energy because the moon is no longer talking to any of the planets. It's floating along in the chart all by itself. And so this is a time of reflection. I mentioned earlier nap taking, definitely a good time to take a nap. I've listed some other good things that you can do during a void moon. A void moon is definitely not the time to make any new plans. It's not a good time to go on a first date. It is not a good time to exchange numbers with someone. It's not a good time to commit yourself to a responsibility or an obligation because the moon isn't connected to any other planets giving it any energy. And the moon purely by itself is very much about being calm, serene, and very nurturing, and not connecting with any of the other planets to create an action energy. So, if the moon's kind of floating along by itself, you should do the same. And this is why in my Insta Stories, why I write, when the void moon is happening, how long it is going for. So you can always check my Insta Stories at Hello Devin Claire, and I'll let you know if a void moon is coming up, if it's happening, and so you can really plan your day around when a void moon is taking place. Plan your nap time. So some examples of how void moons work. So the last time I was at jury duty, they make you sit there, you have your number, you're in your group, and suddenly the moon went void. And they sent us out on break, but they said, you have to come back because we might call more people in to be questioned to be on this jury. And I wanted to stand up and say, no, the moon's void, you're done for the day. You should just send us all home now. Don't send us on break. Don't waste our time. Don't waste your time. The moon is void. You're not going to select anyone else for this court. But, you can't stand up and yell things about astrology. We're not quite there yet in society. One day, but not quite yet. And so we go on our break. We come back. We wait for 15 more minutes. I'm reading my book. And then, lo and behold, what do? They excuse the rest of us because they had already picked who they wanted to interview for the jury prior to the break. So just a little example, things don't really get done once a void moon happens. It's more like you're kind of finishing off what you've already begun prior to the void moon. And then another example, I work at a public library. I'm a librarian, and I have noticed that just the lull in time when the moon goes void, I'll have like a long line at the reference desk. We'll have rowdy patrons who are, maybe causing some trouble. But I know, especially like if I'm the librarian in charge that day, if I can clock when the void moon's going to be happening, I can say, oh, that's when I can take my break, or oh, that's good to know because that's when it's truly going to actually be quiet in the library. Because if you haven't been to a library lately, they're not the quiet places that we think of in movies and books. But during void moons, people are actually quiet, reading, and not doing illegal things in the bathroom. Thank goodness. So I really enjoy those times of the void moon to get things finished and to have some quiet time. So think about how you can use the void moon in your own life to kind of gauge when the energy is going to lower and you have a nice time for reflection. So, in conclusion, void moons are super helpful. It's so funny because it's one of those things where if you choose to slow down during a void moon, you will actually come out ahead in lots of things in life because void moons signify when you should rest and when you should get something started again. So when the moon goes back or goes into the next sign, it's like, all right, start over again, put in your time card, because now it's time to get working on those projects, the project of life. But if you're the type of person who doesn't pay attention to the moon cycles, who doesn't listen to the energies, you're just going to find that during void moons, you're running into a wall. You're hitting your head against a wall. And that's just going to waste time, mess things up, versus if you consciously choose to walk away from something and take some time away from it during the void moon, then you get to return to it when the moon goes into the next sign and really work on the next stage of the project. So I hope that you take the opportunity to use void moons. I will be posting all of the information of how to get to my Instagram account to see when the void moons are happening in my Insta Stories, and information about my website in the details below. And definitely subscribe, because we're going to have more lessons about astrology to come. All right, my star girls and star boys, I hope you have a good Sunday night. And, enjoy. If you're watching this tonight, Sunday night, enjoy the void moon tomorrow. I hope it's full of reflection and just very serene for all of you. All right, everyone. Good night.